So the main revenue source of non-profit organizations would be the subscription fees. Okay, so when cash is received from members for subscription, the double entry would be is to debit cash, because cash is received, cash increases, and then we credit subscription. So subscription is a revenue account. Okay, it's an income account. So to increase subscription, we credit subscription by the amount of cash received. However, for us to recognize that the subscription as a revenue for the non-profit organization for the current period, we need to recognize only the payment received for the current year, and only that one will be transferred or included in the statement of income and expenses. I will explain what is statement of income and expenses in a later slide. Any payments that we receive in advance will not be recognized as a current subscription. However, it will be reported in the balance sheet as a current liability under the heading of advanced subscriptions or deferred subscription. Okay, or some sources would name it as unearned subscription. However, if the members have not paid the subscription until the end of the accounting period, it will be shown in the balance sheet as a current asset. Okay, if there are members that have not yet paid the subscription for the current period, we still need to recognize it as a current period revenue. But then, because we do not receive it in cash, then we are expecting to receive it in cash in later times. Therefore, we need to record that one as a current asset that will be included in the balance sheet, and we may name that current asset as subscription in arrears or accrued subscriptions. These are for subscriptions of the current year that have not yet been paid by the members. So this is some sort of a template, a frame of a subscriptions account. Okay, so in the subscriptions account, when we receive cash for subscription, we will credit the subscription account. But then the subscription account will also have the those that have been paid in advance. Those subscription that has been paid for the current year that was paid in the previous year, that is a beginning will be a beginning balance on the credit side, and any advance payment that was made this year for the subsequent year subscription will be on the debit side. Okay, and the debit side, the ending balance. Okay, this is for the deferred or unearned subscription that we have received the payment, but it is not for the current year subscription, it's for the following year subscription. So this should be put into the adjustment should debit the subscription account. And then there's the arrears or the accrued. Okay, where the subscription has not been paid but it is due. Okay, so if we receive subscription payment this year, but that is for subscription of last year, then we need to debit the subscription account here. So that will be the beginning balance, arrears and accrued. And if by the end of the year there are subscriptions that are due in this particular year, but this has not yet been paid by the members, then we will put it on the right side, on the credit side of the account, the arrears and accrued here, the ending balance here. Okay, so when we have all these items here, then we will come out with the actual subscriptions revenue that we will send off to the income and expenses statement at the end of the year. So that will be derived here. Okay, let's see an illustration. Here it says the FPK Bowling Club charges its members an annual subscription of 30 ringgit per member. Okay, so the annual subscription is 30 ringgit per member. It accrues for subscription owing at the end of the year and also adjusts for subscription received in advance. Okay, that's just saying that the company or the non-profit organization is using accrual accounting. The following transactions are discovered. On January 1st, 2020, 15 members owed 450 for the year 2019. Okay, so the current year is 2020. Okay, but 15 members at the beginning of the year 2020, there are still 15 members who have not yet paid the subscription fees for the previous year 2019. Okay, because there's an accrued subscription, so at the end of 2019 there would be a brought forward balance in the accrued subscription account by 450. But at the beginning, when it is in 2020, we need to make adjustment to the subscription account because since there are subscriptions that we will receive this year, but that is for last year's subscription. Therefore, we need to adjust the subscription account here. So how to adjust? We need to credit accrued subscriptions by 450, and then we need to debit the subscriptions account by 450. Okay, so when we debit subscriptions account, bear in mind that subscription account is a revenue account. Therefore, to increase revenue, we need to credit that account. But because part of the subscription that we will be receiving this year is actually for last year, therefore we must deduct it from any amount of cash that we receive from subscription. That is why we credit the subscription amount by the accrued subscription. On 31st of December 2019, 6 members paid 180 for the year 2020. Okay, so it says here that in previous year, in 2019, there are actually 6 members who have paid for the current year 2020. So payments made last year is actually for the current year, for the current year subscription. So because there's a deferred subscription. So what is meant by deferred here? Deferred here means advanced. So people or members, they have paid subscription in advance. They have paid in 2019, but for the subscription fee of 2020. So therefore, deferred subscription is a liability because the members have paid, whereas they have not gained the benefit. So therefore, the organization is due to give benefit to the members. Therefore, it's a liability to the company. So the liability account is deferred subscription, and because by the end of 2019 there's a deferred subscription, people have paid, but not for 2019, for 2020, rather for 2020. Therefore, at the beginning of 2020, on the deferred subscription account will have brought forward balance of 180. Now, because we want to add the 180 that we have received last year to the current year subscription, therefore we debit deferred subscription account, and then we credit the subscriptions account by 180. So why do we credit? Because again, subscription account is a revenue account. To increase revenue, we need to credit the revenue account. Therefore, we credit the deferred subscription now we are recognizing that the amount that we have received last year was for this year's subscription, therefore we need to add it to this year's subscription account. During the year 2020, the club received cash for subscriptions amounting to 11,130, out of which 210 is for 2021. Okay, at the current year, the club received cash of 11,130, but from that amount, 210 is actually an advanced payment. Again, this is a deferred subscription. People have paid for the subscription of the, not for the current year, but for the following year. Therefore, we must adjust this one from our. Okay, there are two things here. Firstly, is we receive cash, okay, of 11,130. Okay, so because we receive cash for subscription, we need to credit subscription account by the amount of cash 11,130, and of course we will debit the cash account. Okay, so that is one part. The second part is that out of the 11,000 amount, 210 is actually for the following year. So we must go back to this account. Okay, go back to this account. How do we remove from the amount of cash that we receive? We need to recognize that that is for the following year subscription. Therefore, this is a deferred amount. So we need to credit the subscription account by 210 in order for us to reduce the amount of subscription that we are recognizing for the current year. So we debit the subscription account there, and then we credit the deferred subscription account by 210. Okay, showing that there's a new liability appearing. Okay, although previously we have cancelled out this liability, but because there are people who have paid early, not for this year but for next year, therefore we must recognize that as a liability. Therefore we credit our deferred subscription liability account. At the end of 31st December 2020, it was found that 17 members had not paid their 2020 subscription. Okay, so by the end of the year, 17 people who have not paid their 2020 subscription. So 17 members times 30 ringgit per member, that is 510 ringgit. Okay, so 510 ringgit we have not received from our members, but should be recognized as a current year subscription. Therefore, we need to add that on the credit side of the subscription account in order for us to increase the amount of subscription that we are recognizing for the current year. Therefore, we credit our subscription account by 510, and because that is a subscription that we have not yet received, that is actually an asset, because we are expecting to receive cash in the future. Therefore, that it is an asset. Therefore, we need to credit our subscription account, and we need to debit our accrued subscription account by 510. Once we have done all the transactions here, okay, based on the above information, prepare the subscription account. Okay, so we have partially completed our subscription account. We total up the credit side, and we get 11,820. So there's a deficiency on the left side. So the left side, there's a credit balance of the subscription account. So the balancing figure is actually the figure that we will recognize as subscription for the year 2020. Okay, so that amount, the amount is 11,160. So that amount will be sent off to income and expenses as a revenue to the non-profit organization.